This is Duke Devil 95. My name is Brad Burnett. Today I'm going to be talking about the 7th episode of The Mandalorian, Season 3. So the penultimate episode of this season's of The Mandalorian. Penultimate, we could probably spend more and more valuable time discussing the origin of that word penultimate, but I kind of like it anyway. So this episode is titled The Spies, and we start off on Coruscant, but not the nice part of Coruscant that, you saw in Andor where Mon Mothma was hanging out. This is the seedy underbelly of Coruscant. And walking through the back alleys is our favorite, reformed Imperial, Ilia Kane. And she meets up with a probe droid. Yes, an Imperial probe droid just sort of drops from the sky, scans her, and then we see Moff Gideon. Yes, Moff Gideon has in fact escaped, and he wants to know what's going on with Navarro. And she says, well, things did not go as planned. The New Republic didn't help out, but we kind of had a problem because the Mandalorians showed up and drove off the pirates that were going to come over and take over Navarro. So that didn't go that well for us. Gideon's like, that's okay. I'll handle the Mandalorians. I'll do it myself. So now we get the scene with Moff Gideon walking down this long hallway with looks like force fields going back and forth. It just goes on like 20 seconds for some reason. We really need to see Moff Gideon just walk down a hallway, I guess. Regardless, he goes in and meets with a bunch of Imperials, which are called the Shadow Council. He walks past some what appears to be clone tubes. Interesting. So now we have the Shadow Council, a whole bunch of people appearing in holograms. There's like 7 or 8 of them here, but only 2 really matter. The 2 that really matter are, what's his name? General Brandal Hux and Gilad Paleon. Who's Gilad Paleon? Well, that's this guy right here. There we go. That's Gilad Paleon. He is, of course, closely aligned to Grand Admiral Thrawn, and he talks about how Grand Admiral Thrawn will soon be returning, and that's going to usher in the new empire. The other thing we ought to note here is, Moff Gideon's attire. Does this look familiar in any way? Armor, chest plate with lights on it. Only thing missing is a mask. Don't worry, it shows up later. Spoilers. Yeah, so the other person involved here is Hux. So Hux is described as, I believe, the Commandant or something. He's involved with something called Project Necromancer, and he's got a great interest in clones. Bottom line is, this Hux is the father of the Hux we see in the sequel series, played by Domhnall Gleeson. I think this is actually played by maybe his brother. It's not his father. I don't think it's his father. I think it's his brother. And basically, this is rather 7 minutes of sequence where, right there he is. All right, so that there is sequel General Hux's father, this General Hux. So General Hux the first, not General Hux the second. Bottom line is, Gideon wants everyone to give him more support so we can wipe out the Mandalorians. He does a little bit of challenging of the potential return of Grand Admiral Thrawn. Of course, if you know Star Wars lore, you know Heir to the Empire, you know who Grand Admiral Thrawn is. He's name dropped a bunch here. He's not going to show up. We're not going to see him to Ahsoka. Regardless, he convinces everyone to give him the troops and ships he needs to mount an assault against the Mandalorians because they represent a potential threat to what they are doing, which is, sad to say it, they are rebuilding the Empire. Yes, this is the First Order, which means anyone who had any hopes that the sequel trilogy would, somehow vanish or be retconned, yeah, that ain't happening. It's still there, and this is just setting it up for down the road. Back on Navarro, the local citizens are cleaning up after the recent attack from the pirates, when all of a sudden, up above, a whole bunch of ships come in, and Grief Karga's, droid runs out and says, the Imperials are here, and the Imperials are here. And Grief Karga points out, that's no Imperial ship. See that sign? On the bottom, the painted sigil, that's a mythosaur. Those are Mandalorians, and those are our buddies. Those are our friends who are just going to be camping out on the outside of town. So Bo-Katan's forces have arrived. They go and land at the Mandalorian camp outside of town, at the nice little area that Grief Karga has given them. It's not quite a gated community. Maybe they got their own HOA. It's going to be fine for the Mandos. It's good. But now it's time for the Night Owls and the Children of the Watch to meet. They all stand across from each other, maybe 10, 15 feet apart. It's a little tense. It's very clear that these two groups do not get along. But fortunately, the armorer comes out and says, "Welcome to our new Mandalorian friends. Let's all have some dinner." You know what? Yeah, let's just sit down, have a nosh, a little bit of, good eats, no green titty milk. Let's just have some good food. All Mandalorians happy together. And Grief Karga shows up and says, welcome to Mando. And he brings him a gift of wine. And then he says, "I have a gift, another gift." "Oh, who's this other gift for?" "Oh, it's going to be Grogu." "Yes, it is." And, I remember hearing about this when I was reading some Reddit streams about what it could be. And it's IG-11. No, IG-12. So basically what happens is they've converted IG-11 to IG-12, so it's just a suit, which can be piloted, because right now, you see right there, it's being piloted by Babu Frick, looks like, possibly. Yeah, so he's driving it. Now, oh, yes, you know what's happening. You know what's happening. It's now Grogu's mech suit. So Grogu gets in this thing, and I swear, I truly thought this was BS at first. But then I'm like, well, this is too stupid for it to not be real. But yeah, Grogu now gets a mech suit. So he climbs in. Well, actually, Apollo puts him in. And so now he's in the suit. Mando doesn't think he can operate it because he's too young. But, he figures it out. And there's two buttons on there. There are two buttons. One yes and one no. So now Grogu has an ability to talk somehow. He's able to speak, but he can't say much. Yes or no. So basically, he's Captain Pike in the chair that blinks one for yes and two for no in the menagerie from Star Trek. That's all he can do. So he goes yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. It really is just kind of stupid. And I'm certain some people go, "Oh my God, this is the best thing ever." I just think it's dumb. I mean, first off, like I say, Grogu's 50 in Yoda years, which if Yoda lives to 900, again, 90 for human years, he's 5. Grogu should be talking at this point, but apparently he's not. But now he can at least say yes and no. And then he starts giving a walk around the town, blah, blah, blah. And he just goes, yes, 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 yes. I'm like, the first thing that came to mind for me was like the Meg Ryan scene in When Harry Met Sally when she's in the deli and faking it. Yeah. It literally is just him walking around town. Yes, 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 yes. This is like the worst adult film actress ever. Okay. So now all the Mandalorians sit down and have their meal together. And Bo-Katan decides it's time to gather up everyone and let's go back and retake Mandalore. We can't scan the surface, we're going to go down. Okay, great plan. So basically, what Starbucks says is the Pegasus and Galactica will stay in orbit and guard New Caprica. We will go down, scout out the planet, and set up a new colony. Yeah, it is literally just cloning Battlestar Galactica. And it's really taking a long time. This is very slow and plodding episode. This is 50 minutes of this stuff. 50 minutes. Made up with a lot of walking and staring. Regardless, Bo gets her team together. And again, they don't decide not to send a scouting party. They send the whole fleet. You are setting yourselves up for a trap. I mean, hopefully there's no one else on the planet Mandalore. I mean, it'd be awful if maybe Moff Gideon was around or in the neighborhood somewhere, because we're taking our entire fleet, all of our ships that make us powerful. We're taking it all at once. Let's not send a scout ship. Let's just send everybody and then a scout ship from down. Tactically bad, Starbuck. Yikes. So now all the Mandalorians get down to the planet, make landfall, start walking around. They start scouting out. And in the far distance appears to be something coming towards them. It's some sort of skiff or boat. Kind of looks like something out of Mad Max. Turns out a bunch of Mandalorians survived the original bombing and been living there the entire time somehow. So they make contact with Bo-Katan, the Mandalorian. Not Din Djarin, the Mandalorian. I'm just going to call this Bo-Katan, the Mandalorian, since this is her show now. In fact, I think there was an article from the director of this episode who basically said, the Mandalorian is whoever you want it to be. The whole thing, this entire thing originally was, this is going to be the story of the Mandalorian, the man with no name, old Western style. It is now morphed into what many people have said is generic Star Wars show where we're just setting up the prequels. So yeah, that's where we are. So our Mandalorian star, the titular star, the Mandalorian, is Bo-Katan. And she's explaining to all the Mandalorians on this, boat, skiff, whatever it is, how the fall of Mandalore happened, that they bombed the hell out of the planet. She attempted to negotiate a ceasefire with Moff Gideon. It turned out Moff Gideon betrayed her. Yes. And then he took the Darksaber from her. So the most important part of this entire thing is and again, this is where we now actually have the official handing of the torch of the story. So Din Djarin, who I'm not going to call the Mandalorian anymore, I'm just going to call him Din Djarin, says to Bo-Katan, I understand everything that happened. I didn't know anything about this, but you have my loyalty and you have my service. I will continue to serve you, Lady Kryze. So now the torch has been passed to the new Mandalorian star of the show, Bo-Katan. Again, I like Katie Sackhoff. I think Bo-Katan could be an interesting character, and if they had made a show surrounded by her, as opposed to doing a bait and switch, 3 seasons in, then it'd be talking about an entirely different story. But whatever. Along the way, the armorer who was on the planet leaves, takes some injured people up to the ship, and the fleet, and then some BS happens on the skiff where Paz Vizsla and wolves are fighting. Literally, they're fighting over basically a game of chess. But don't worry, we can't step in. They're going to fight it out. Blah blah blah. Fight. It's a okay sequence, I guess. They fight. It's getting nasty. Oh my God, are they going to kill each other? Oh God, I hope they don't. Who could potentially stop this whole thing? I think I know who can. That's right. No. Grogu jumps in. It stops the fight. Somehow. The purpose of this, I don't know. But it happened. And I'm just highlighting again that we now have Grogu in a mech suit. The Mandalorians on the skiff are taking the Bo-Katan and her forces to the Great Forge. Along the way, they happen to run into trouble. A giant kaiju comes out of the ground. I actually thought it was a mythosaur, but I'm not certain it is the mythosaur. It's a giant kaiju. It knocks out the skiff, destroys it with a giant tail swoop. All the Mandalorians rush underground, and they get to the area of the giant forge. So now everyone's staring in awe at the giant forge. And then they see something in the distance, something coming in. What is it? It's someone, people in jetpacks, but they're wearing white armor. Yes, it is. It's the First Order. Well, it's gonna be the First Order. You see, they're now attacking. These are Moff Gideon's forces. They're all clad in Beskar armor, so they're able to resist blaster bolts and everything. So we get the sequence of a fight, blah, 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 blah. Fight. The Mandalorians get them on the run, and then they start running to this area. And as you're coming through here, I would think the Mandalorians would be going, this is interesting. There's some walls and hallways built in the caves here, and you know what? They kind of look Imperial. But let's keep fighting. So we're running and fighting, gunning and shooting. It's okay, sequence, whatever. That's fine. God, I hope it's not a trap. Do you think it could be a trap? Of course it's a trap. Because what does this turn out to be? Yes, it is in fact an Imperial base. Correct. An Imperial base on Mandalore. Because that's what Moff Gideon's been doing this entire time. He's been hanging out on Mandalore with his troops. So now they trap the Mandalorians. Djarin gets cut off. And this sequence is great. Yes, it's an ambush. Here they all come. We're going to throw some fire in the air and fight. Djarin's going to get captured here. And then look who literally lands. It's Darth Vader. No. Oh, wait. What? It is literally freaking Darth Vader. Jesus. They're so desperate for a villain at this point. It's Moff Gideon. Yes, he is now wearing basically Darth Vader armor, clad in Beskar. He's wearing a Mandalorian-style helmet. Din Djarin is captured and taken off to, ladies and gentlemen, this is very frightening. He is taken off to the debriefing room. The debriefing room. Just say the torture room, the debriefing room, whatever. And then it's time for Moff Gideon to take out the Mandalorians. He tries to convince Bo-Katan to give him the Darksaber. She's like, hell no, I'm not doing that. And then, the Mandalorians start shooting, fighting back. The blast door that was separating the Mandalorians from the new Imperial troopers opens up. Bo-Katan is cutting a hole through the door in the back, so the Mandalorian is going to stay. And it's time for Paz Vizsla to make a stand. You remember Paz Vizsla? Sure you do. You remember Paz Vizsla. That's the dude in the big giant armor there. That's right, with the machine gun. So Bo-Katan is trying to cut our way out here. Paz Vizsla is going to hold them all off. So everyone's running and fleeing. He's going to say, I'm going to stay here and make my stand. Yes, that's right. Now, mind you, this is Jon Favreau's voice doing the character. It sure as hell is not Jon Favreau in that armor. But now he's standing off, and he's going to sacrifice himself. There's too many of them coming, so he's going to fight them off himself. He shuts off the door to protect the other Mandalorians, stands there and takes the fight. So he's able to take out all of the normal troopers. But then guess who shows up? That's right. Real legitimate bad guys show up. It is the Praetorian Guard. Yeah, these look like the guys who were in Last Jedi. With the fantastic scene with Rey and Kylo fighting. So, yeah, they got their vibro blades of some sort, energy blades, and it's fight time. And, Paz Vizsla puts up a fight, but they get through the chinks in the armor, they get through the spaces in the armor, and just slice and dice. Paz Vizsla goes down. And I know exactly what you're thinking. This is tragic. Paz Vizsla has been one of the best characters. I mean, I think about all the personal stories that we've learned about Paz Vizsla over these 3 years. It could fill several volumes of books with no content or text whatsoever. Because all we know is that Paz Vizsla is voiced by Jon Favreau. He has a kid who likes to get captured by space pterodactyls, and his armor looks big and thick. That's it for Paz Vizsla. But now I guess we're supposed to feel some sort of emotion here. Oy. So again, we have a long episode, which they probably could have shaved a good 10 or 15 minutes off of this, tightened it up, which would have improved the story. But they're too busy. It's very clear now they're too busy setting up the sequel trilogy. Everything in this is leading to it. We have, General Hux and his Project Necromancer, which is clearly, somehow Emperor Palpatine has returned. Now we know how, just a bunch of cloning tubes and the doctor whose brain was scrambled, maybe, possibly. We got all these new soldiers and troops showing up. The armor is being made to look like the First Order armor. They're resurging in power. Grand Admiral Thrawn is coming back, and we know that's going to tie into Ahsoka, and Ahsoka is going to tie into, down the road. Again, I'm certain there are people out there who like this, and if you find some enjoyment in this, God bless you. This is, again, like I said before, on so many things these days. Let's throw something on the wall and see how it goes. The story is, at times it's obvious, and the dialogue is obvious and painful and drawn out for no good reason. One more to go. All right. Questions, comments, witticisms down below. Click like, click subscribe. I'll see you later.